Hey everyone, it's that guy over there, bringing you the post 1500 CCYDNE tournament thoughts, kind of an after action review over what happened, kind of a unit by unit analysis, and I'll also talk tactics against. I played dwarves and wood elves this tournament, wood elves twice. While it doesn't make me like, you know, the man against playing wood elves or whatever. It's just kind of some things I've noticed in my games against dwarves. Also, I'll talk about some things I've noticed as far as playing against the dwarves and the wood elves. Um, yeah, so moving right ahead to right. So talking through my list, the first thing I want to point out is that high magic is what I want to play. I don't. I know that Skink Cloud with Lord Death's Land, that seems to be effective. Some people are talking up the Wandering Deliberations where you get all the signature spells. High magic it adds some depth to the magic phase, and it kind of gives you some flexibility to cover your weaknesses also. Because especially as you saw in the dwarf game, there are some spells that are just the counter to whatever you're playing against, and I prefer to walk into a game with a bag of tricks rather than have some sort of super combo. So I like magic a lot, and there's a lot of depth and tactics to what you're picking, and you kind of thoughts behind it. So that I like to play that way. So high magic is definitely where I want to be. I need to get a better way of tracking it though, because I could see myself forgetting which spells I forgot. As ironic as that sounds. So I just need to have better control over that, better hold on it. Cowboys. So they're. I don't know what I want to say about Cowboys. They have 2 wounds, so they can go down quick. I mean, 2 wounds, that's crazy, you know? Um, and maybe it's because I play Warhammer 40,000 also, but 2 wounds just seems like they're just going to die. Against the Wood Elves, they did balance a unit of Wild Riders, which I thought was incredible. I thought for sure they were just toast. And then against the Dwarves, you saw they didn't stand up as well. So I don't know. They're kind of their fate is at the hands of the dice. So if your dice go cold, they could die really quick. Again, ironic. They're riding cold ones. Dice go cold. Anyway, what I found is defense over toys, defense over offense. You really need to have a rerollable 1+ armor save, 2+ ward against flaming attacks. Pretty standard. Great weapons are great weapons are great. I'm sorry if this sounds stupid. Anyway, the great weapons are really good. You don't need like piranha blades and crazy weapons or anything like that. The strength 7 is enough. I don't know. I didn't know if I was gonna like them. I was able to keep them alive for the most part this tournament, so I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. So my Crocsgore units with the Skinks, the Scrox units, they were annoying to move around because of my magnetic movement trays. I should do a video on them sometime, but because the Crocsgore have to like there's 2 movement trays that get pressed together, and the Crocsgores kind of sit on the gap, so they hold the 2 together, which is nice. But when they die, then it just becomes annoying again, and I don't know. I can get used to it. I just need to get them on there better or whatever. Just kind of figure out how they're all going to fit. I found them to be as survivable as Saurus. There's more of them there. The Crocsgore definitely aren't. They're as tough as it's like 9 Saurus standing there. So, and if you put all your attacks on the Crocsgores, then it just kills those guys off, and then the Skinks are okay. So I don't know. I think they're all right. And then the cool thing about Crocsgores is that they're monstrous infantry, and if a cannonball like bounces through and does only 1 wound to them, it doesn't kill them. The cannonball stops, so they can bounce cannonballs off their chest, which is kind of cool. So that Saurus can't do that for you. That would only be good for like stopping a cannonball for something standing behind him. The javelins versus blowpipe skinks, maybe blowpipe or javelins in a skirmishing unit because they can march and shoot and stand and shoot all the time. My blowpipes, I don't think I fired them at all. So having javelins would mean you'd actually get to shoot, but I don't know how good that would be. I don't know if it's worth either pulling all the arms off my guys or buying more skinks. I don't know. So ultimately, it's 10 poison shots, which can nickel and dime you to victory for sure. Because a wound here or there really can matter against some of the bigger things. But skink skirmishers are chaff. Chaff moves forward. They need javelins, I guess, if you want them to do something. Otherwise, they're just 70-point roadblocks. Who knows? Rippers, I really enjoy the playstyle that Rippers have, where you're vanguarding, trying to fly over, becoming a nuisance. They're frenzied, so they're not going to be like taking brake checks and running away. No, they're just going to get in there, get something, and take something down. So, and I think 4 is the magic number. I know they come in boxes of 3, but I did buy 3 boxes of Rippers. So I have 2 units of 4 and then a character if I wanted to make one. Engine of the Gods, I think, was worth it. The Engine of the Gods upgrade. I'm not sure, because the Stegodon flubbed in combat and failed horribly. So I'm not sure if I really want Stegodons. Because again, like the Cowboys, I felt like they just didn't do very much damage. So I think it's just because I load roll for impact hits and stomps and thunder stomps and all that. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to include any Stegodons because the multi-wound thing. Every time I plowed in something with multiple wounds, it was like I wasn't rolling enough impact hits and it wasn't doing as much as I thought. Against like ogres, that would have been really good, like to impact hit into ogres. But while there are a lot of ogre players out there, I would rather put 300 points into something else, I think. But yeah, 300 points wasn't too bad for the Engine of the Gods. I don't know. I'll have to think about it some more. But I think that I brought one of everything, so I was able to whatever my opponent did to me or was trying to work with their list, if they had some combo, I felt like I had at least one thing to counter whatever they had. Whether it be the Engine of the Gods making things a little bit more survivable, whether it was the Slan swapping out for magic I felt like I had something to deal with everything. But a lot of the games, most of the games, none of the games I felt like I was just steamrolling them, because there were certainly points in all the games where a key move, maybe focus firing down my units as opposed to putting a wound on everything, would have meant I would have started losing guys fast. I mean, guys were just hanging on by a thread. Like my Cowboys, the Stegodon was constantly on his last wound. So I feel like I got away with some things that I won't get away with next time. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So in my mind, they were all very close games. So because there's a few points where they could have swapped easily out. Like they could have pulled ahead or at least did more damage to me, even if the points didn't reflect it. So anyway, it was a cool tournament. I really appreciate Will putting the time into it to have these kinds of things out there for us. If there wasn't somebody willing to put tournaments together, they probably wouldn't happen. So thanks to CCYDNE for hosting it. And I definitely enjoy playing at that venue, and I definitely am enjoying fantasy at this particular moment. So anyway, we'll go ahead and segue into Army notes. I'll call them tactics, but what I've noticed against these two, because both books are relatively new, so I'll talk about things that I've seen. Anyway, against the Wood Elves, so I played 2 games against them. Both lists were pretty similar. They had Glade Guard troops. They had 2 units of Wild Riders to come around on the flanks. They had a Tree Man, level 4. I'm not sure if they both had Dark. I think they did actually both have Dark Magic. And then a BSB with Hail of Doom Arrow. So Wood Elves, I think the direction the players in my game group are going, and I'm not sure if this is elsewhere, is you've got this back line of archers, and the more mobile, the more you can move around, the better, because at some point they're going to get through your screen and get to you. But anyway, that's your fire base. And then there are, and that could have defense in depth. There could be guys up front that are more expendable and guys in the back that are more deadly, have better arrows or whatever. But then out front, you've got this screen so my opponents had 2 units of Wild Riders to go out and pin down the most dangerous threat and hold it in place so that the archers could kind of shoot down everything else. So my second opponent immediately... No, was it my second? No, it's the third opponent. He sent him right into the flank of the Skink and Crocscore unit, and to pin them down. Because I was able to chop my way out of that with the Saurus, which I was so surprised about. But that gave me some freedom to move farther and started launching charges on turn 2. But I think that's going to be a common thing where they have a screen and then this back row. So what can you do against that? Well, I think if you identify the screen early, if there's going to be Great Eagles or units that I'm not thinking of right now that are going to try to come out and kind of tie you up in the middle to give them some standoff, those are the units you need to take down. Well, I guess it depends on your list. So, for instance, my list, I wasn't too concerned about the archers. I was concerned about the Wild Riders, so I was trying to shoot those down with magic missiles. They were just always getting dispelled or dispel scrolled to kind of get rid of those guys. If the screen isn't the dangerous thing, if the screen is if they're Great Eagles and stuff, you can assault those and then kind of get repositioned to charge into the rear units. But magic, because they're going to probably go MSU, you can pick the ones where their characters are in. So like trying to shoot magic missiles into the BSB's unit or the levels 4's unit, so you can have magic superiority, or so that they don't have that leadership bubble and all that stuff, I think is the key. So you don't have to outshoot them. You just have to pick a unit and destroy it. Probably in the first couple turns, or else it's gonna go bad. And just identifying the biggest threats, or the thing that's holding their army together, like the BSB, or the level 4. So that's what I've noticed, is you've got to be ready to maneuver with them. You have to be able to be ready to move at them. But just good, solid target priority if you have any kind of range combat. If you don't have range, like if your Warriors of Chaos and have no range, then you're in trouble. But if you can at least compete in all phases, you just need to outlast them and shoot down their dangerous units before they shoot down yours, I suppose. Which is easier said than done. Magic missiles help out. So hopefully that was helpful. So we'll move on to dwarves. Now, dwarves are almost the opposite. So while the wood elves have this screen, this light screen that's kind of more annoying and clogging you up, and then this heavier presence in the backfield, dwarves are going to have a iron curtain of dwarves in chainmail and all their armor, shields, everything out in front. There's these big blocks, and they might not move very much during the course of the game. And behind that, you're going to see a few war machines. My opponent had the quarrelers. The quarrelers, that really threw me off. I really have to think now because I was just expecting him just to have great weapon guys or whatever, and they had crossbows also. It was like, holy crap! So, but you have to be ready for that, and the blocks more so. I don't want to say more so. They might even be harder to chip through than the wood elves, but they're more static. So if you can get around their flanks, you're trying to. You have to be like water to the dwarves' rock. You gotta get in through the gaps between their units or whatever you need to do to get to the cannons. So I know my first game against Will, I picked off his cannons early, and then we just kind of had this standoff where we were sitting there staring at each other, trying to whittle each other down. I knew a Wood Elf player up in New York. He'd buy what was considered to be the worst army book, and then beat everybody with it. And then he'd buy the next army book and then beat everybody with it. So he bought Wood Elves, and he was playing against a dwarf guy, and he rolled enough sixes to kill the dwarf cannon crews on all the, because he just had so many arrows. So he killed all the cannon crews, and then he just had blocks of warriors that would have annihilated the Wood Elves, but they couldn't get to them. And that's how he won the game. He just won by victory points there. But it's true. I mean, if you can take down their cannons, they might have some quarrelers or something like that, but they're not going to have, or the new fire drakes or whatever. The new fire drakes are just crazy. 2+ invulnerable saves on every single guy. I mean, I guess that's dragon armor that high elves have also, but they're like, I don't even know what all they do, but they're like Ballistic Skill 5 or something. They're really good flaming attacks. But the cannons, once the cannons go down, their damage output goes down by a lot. So if you have, I use magic missiles. That Wood Elf player I knew used arrows. If you've got flying characters, or you've got whatever you can do to get behind them and take down the cannons, you're good. So anyway, that's what I've noticed for dwarf tactics. Anyway, I'm going to be doing more videos on this announcement, but I'm going to be putting together a list and painting it over the next year, and I would like to take it to the events next season. So I'm going to be posting up lists and talking about my unit decisions. I'm not necessarily taking something that I'm going to just cream everybody with, but it's the things I like to play, because I noticed that I do better with things that I like. Like I played Tyranids in 40k, and they're kind of considered to be a bad army, but I've always done well with them because I like them and I figure them out, and that's what I'm going to do with Lizardmen. I'm going to pick the units that I like and figure them out and be really dangerous on the battlefield, because if your opponent's not used to fighting against a certain type of army or certain types of units, they're not going to know necessarily how to deal with it. So there's some mind games you play with, because if you're the only guy that plays like the Ripperdactyls, everybody's concerned about my Ripperdactyls getting behind them and stuff like that. They put too much importance on that because they don't play it every day, and you can kind of affect the game that way by just kind of pressing on your opponent's stress points. And yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting, and I'll post up a list and I'll talk about the unit choices, and it's gonna be fun. I just need to get. I need motivation for painting. That's what I need from you guys, is motivation from painting. I'll go to whatever tournaments I can make it to throughout this year, and I'd like to make it to at least one big GT next year and be fully painted and fully ready to go. So anyway, that's my big announcement, I suppose, is that I'm building up the Force. I'm putting time into the Force, and the Force being the Lizardman, not the Jedi Force. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching this series of videos, and I hope you enjoyed. Catch you later.